Collecting statistics about GDP, collecting statistics about the status quo is not the same as intellectual banks. We are collecting data so that we are able to plan and utilize the money we have in order to, but we are not predicting the future. We are not solving problems of what is facing us as a nation. We are not even coming up with systems of what projects we must do. We are trying to have data so that we know how do we spend the revenues that we are collecting. Usually development and human science, we look at holistic approaches, meaning they should not be able to just affect one person. But like a wildfire, once you begin with one area, it should spread to another area. And demonstrating this synergy means how does the spillover effect of development catch on to other communities, if I'm to rephrase your question. And I'm going to give an example. For this one, I've brought a pen and a paper. There was a time in the Monitor newspaper when eastern Uganda had grown a lot of sugarcane. And this sugarcane was in Busoga region. This sugarcane was being taken by the husbands to their wives at home to be used as firewood because they could not have market. And we were able to see boda-bodas, these are motor bicycles, full of sugarcane, which was going to work as firewood. And I want to demonstrate something to you. In Sese, a bag of molasses, hardened molasses, is 75,000 shillings. Each kilogram is about 1,500 shillings. One truck of sugarcane that originally at that time went for 35,000 Uganda shillings can actually produce, if we are to look, an acre can actually produce 4 trucks. And these 4 trucks or lorries have 12 bags, each of 50 kilograms of hardened molasses. So we get 75,000 multiply by the 12 bags, each of 50 kilograms. And we get, at the cost of 75,000, we get 900,000. For 1 acre. Now we had a case study which we had done before when there was a Mr. Kasada, because you don't do things without experimenting them. You must have pilot studies, you must have feasibility studies. All this is what makes it scientific, because you've researched it, you've given it experimentation, and this is what our experimentation gave us. In terms of Mr. Kasada was hoping to get 2.5 million from an acre. So he invested 700,000 buying, renting land of 10 acres, where each was bought at, or rented at 700,000. This is a garden of sugarcane. He did this in 2017. By the time it was 2020, one truck of sugarcane was 35 Uganda shillings. 35,000 Uganda shillings, one truck. 1 acre could actually make 4 trucks. So in the 4 trucks, that means 35, he got 140 from the sugar canes that he had actually rented. If we are to look at Sese, which has 1 producer of hardened molasses, and that one sells 50 kilograms a bag at 75,000. And we look at the 4 trucks which come out of 1 acre, then we are looking at someone having 3.6 million per acre. For the 10 acres that he actually was able to rent with sugarcane, he's able to get 3.6 million shillings. And he had anticipated to get 2.5 from each acre. So you imagine you had 10 families, each giving you 1 acre of sugarcane. It means that 10 families now would have 360 million shillings. So every person who took a boda-boda home of dried sugarcane to use as firewood was actually throwing away 3.6 million. Simply because you were asking earlier about the role of intellectualism, this is it. You direct people who are not educated, who are 65% of the country and living on subsistence farming. Just because, but now when we begin this that we are doing with Sese, we can buy molasses from Busoga and use it in microbioactivity, which helps the black soldier fly farming and in terms of feeding, because you introduce different bacteria together. They form fermentation, and that forms the integrity of the black soldier fly and its feeding system. So we would have hit two birds with one stone. Then from Busoga we'll go into something else and go into, but Busoga is known as one of the most poor regions of the country. And we could really have solved the problem. I don't know if I'm clear enough with my calculation, But Mr. Kasada, 2017, invested 700,000 shillings to rent an acre of sugarcane. He ended up by 2020, a lorry of sugarcane was buying 35,000 Ugandan shillings, 10,000, 20, 35, a whole lorry. And yet 1 acre can produce 4. So if it was only possessed as hardened molasses, and it is given as a synergy cooperation to Sese Islands to use it in black soldier farming, wouldn't we be moving forward? So this is basically to show people which way to go. Household income increases, and also we are creating a money economy using human sciences right from the grassroots. And also if we are to consider human life and sustenance, molasses have a lot of dense nutritional value. It has all kinds of vitamins, it has all kinds of B vitamins. It's as good as just 2 spoons are enough for your nutritional value of multivitamins and supplements, and in the most natural form. So we would have moved a long way. There is one thing, many people have talked about poverty, and they've talked about why aren't we able to solve poverty? And I think I'll begin here by saying, before we can define something, we can't fight it, because we don't know exactly what it is. When we talk of poverty, some people equate it, since we are in this fake system which regards money as life and everything. Poverty is termed as a lack of money to buy resources that we may want, or to buy goods and services that we may want. But that is not appropriate. That is not the kind of poverty that is in Africa. In Western countries and different parts of the world, they've got what they call a below income line, or a limit below which someone should not earn when they are being employed, because they have corporations, they have companies, they have industries that actually employ these people. There you can say when someone earns this amount and they are not able to earn, whatever they earn is below what is stipulated as the average, below which someone should not go, then you consider them poor, and that is poverty to those countries. But in Africa, you find someone is living in a makeshift house. It's temporary shelter, by the way. People don't even have permanent shelter. They are not homeless, like living on the streets like people abroad who have nowhere to go. It is cold winter and they have to stay outside. They are staying in makeshift houses. They are not begging on the street, literally, but due to subsistence farming, they have some land and some good climate. They can be able to do subsistence farming and feed their stomach. You know, the season will come and then they have something to eat, but they are not using money to buy. So what is poverty in Africa? Poverty is a lack of innovative ideas, which an intellectual bank should be able to create, that are able to produce activities that are income generating through agro-based industries at the grassroots, that are able to handle the social, psychological, and economic transformation of the rural areas. That is my definition of poverty. So when we have defined what poverty is, then solving it is easy, because how the world sees it is not in context to how Africa should see it. So then we go and we get those models that can help us to create agro-based industries at the grassroots. And as we create that, we create an income-generating activity that is multiplied by every household doing it. We multiply it, but we have income, you know, within every household that pours into the aggregate, that is also able to reflect in GDP. Meaning that what comes from the top is able to meet what comes from the bottom in the middle. And that is what we call poverty and poverty eradication within Africa. So it is a little bit different. Not knowing how to term it makes it difficult for us to even know how to fight it or how to handle it or how to solve it.